few different things. We're going to talk about meeting facilitation in general, and then we're going to actually go through the process of workshopping. And when I say workshopping, I mean different techniques and different ways that you can get groups of people to come together and come up with different end games, which could be brainstorming. It could be coming to some sort of shared understanding. And it could also be figuring out your way around problems or even landing on the same definition of a problem. So this course is longer, so we will have standard breaks. We'll do a break at the top of every hour. At the bottom of every hour, we'll have a short pause for us to just pause and ask questions. Couple of just quick bookkeeping things. Everyone's been in these little Zoom boxes for a while, so folks should be familiar with the chat function. But if you do have a question and you don't want to hang on to it, feel free to unmute and ask the question at any time. I want this to be more of a conversation, so please feel free. But if it's something that you want to wait for the bottom or the top of the hour in the discussion period, go ahead and put in the chat, question for Chaeny, and then ask your question. And that way we can just sort of scroll through the chat and see those questions. But this course is going to be a little more interactive. We're going to use breakout rooms pretty frequently. I understand that not everyone has the ability to turn on their camera. Totally get that. I understand sometimes we are limited by the technology and sometimes the little cameras aren't necessarily working. But if you do have the ability to come on camera, especially when you're in breakout rooms, please do so. It just will help not only during some of the discussions, but there will be a few exercises where it will be helpful. That being said, if your computer does not have a camera or you cannot join by camera, don't worry, you will not be left out. As long as we can hear you and you can hear us, you'll still be able to participate. And if the internet gnomes don't work as hard and the camera chokes your bandwidth, feel free to come off camera while you're listening. And then if you want to speak, come on camera, say your thing, and then come back, because I realize that it can be super frustrating when your internet goes down and people see you as a statue or in some other type of embarrassing pose. So no problem. So just to get us warmed up here, in the chat, go ahead and put your name, the organization you're with, so the state, California, New Jersey, I think we have some folks from Pennsylvania, maybe even some folks from Maine. Go put your name, your organization, and just for fun, we'll do what we like to call a one-word check-in. So put one word of how you're feeling right now. So I'll put in here. I'm just putting my name. And I'm putting as my one word, I'm excited. All right, we have great, we have excited, we have tired. Oh no, it's a Tuesday, busy, California Conservation Corps. Oh, thanks for joining California Conservation Corps. I have not seen that group join yet. That's wonderful, great, open, lovely, excited. A couple greats, curious, excellent. Getting a lot of greats. Couple okays. Well, hopefully we can turn those okays into goods. I realize it might be, for some it might be early, for some it might be mid-afternoon. Inspired, excellent. Excellent, excellent. Celebrating the Rams Super Bowl victory. As a 49ers fan, I'm slightly sad, but there's always next year, right? All right. So, okay. So what I'm going to do, so thanks for sharing. We're going to do a few more exercises like this. As part of this course, I want us to not only learn the material, but we're also going to do all these steps. The idea is that I'm going to show you about how to do a facilitation and a workshop. as we're doing a facilitated workshop. Hey, so it's like very self-fulfilling here. So there are going to be some slides. I don't intend to bury you in slides. I will be happy to share the slides because they will have little reminders of the techniques you're going to learn. But again, I want this to be a lot more interactive. So without further ado, I am going to go into some slides here. And I'm going to share my screen here. And I'm going to make this big. All right. Can everyone still see this big full screen?
Good on my end.
Okay, great. All right. And there is an ant walking across my touchpad. What does he want to do? Okay, weird. So again, I'm with California Health and Human Services. We're doing this as part of our own training curriculum, but we're also doing this as part of a multi-state partnership. So thank you for attending. I'm super excited to see people from so many different parts of the country. This is exciting, and thank you so much for coming. And attributions, a lot of the techniques that I'm going to share with you today come from these wonderful thought partners and just different organizations that I've worked with or for during my career. So we like to say we stand on the shoulders of giants because a lot of these techniques, no one knows who came up with them originally, but where there's a lot of usage over time because they work. They simply work. So this is me, I'm Chaeny Emanavin. I'm the director of the Office of Innovation for California Health and Human Services. My office is now called the Center for Data Insights and Innovation. Way too many words, but the important part is I've got 22 years of federal and state IT and digital service experience. And that's my family over there, my wife and my 3 kids. This is when I was coaching cross country earlier this year. And yes, I have since got a haircut. So my hair's in between these 2 lengths, the shorter and the longer these days. Okay, so I'm going to share this slide with you, but this is something we always start off with at every single one of our meetings, whether they be online or whether they are in person. We always go over ground rules. And so the idea with ground rules is it's just a quick level setting. I want everyone to know we're going to focus on listening, and it's okay to agree to disagree. We want to make sure that all voices are heard. When you speak, try to make one point at a time. This is especially important when you're in your breakout rooms. Research have shown where groups of N, when everyone speaks 1/n of the time, those groups end up creating not only more numerous, but higher quality ideas than groups where only a few voices dominate. So if you're in a group of 10, try to speak 1/10 of the time. I'm going to blow that during the lecture periods because it's just me talking, but generally speaking, when you're in a group, it's one of the core tenets of something called psychological safety, which in my previous course, psychologically safe groups outperform every other type of group because they're not afraid to throw out crazy ideas and to build on each other's prompts, which makes for a more effective team. Another thing is, since we're from different departments, even folks from the same state, we might be from different agencies. So try to use simple language. We use a lot of AFE in government, which of course stands for acronyms for everything. So try not to use the acronym unless you've spelled it out a couple times and people feel comfortable with it. And like I said before, please feel free to ask questions. Questions are an act of leadership. Devices are at ease. This is great for when you're in person. If someone needs to take a call, fine, cool, no problem. Just, please step out so you're not taking that call in the middle of a brainstorming session. And we're going to get to this a little bit later, but everybody draws. I know it can cause a little bit of anxiety. I am not a great artist by any stretch of the imagination, but if you can draw a circle-ish kind of shape, square kind of shape, rectangle, triangle, you can basically make any one of your concepts come to life with just those simple shapes. All right. One thing I wanted to point out is agree to disagree. When I talk to people about facilitation, I never tell them that we're going to come to an agreement or everyone's going to walk out of here thinking the same thing. The point of a facilitation is to come to a shared understanding, which means I understand someone's point, even if we don't agree, because that shared understanding is the basis of all the other good work that comes from these techniques. So we'll get into that in a little bit. So I've broken this into two sections. The first section, we're going to talk about facilitation. And facilitations can be any type of meeting where you need a group of humans to come to some sort of shared understanding. It can be a meeting, anything short of a status meeting where you're just saying, this is what we're up to. I'd also argue, as a side note, status meetings might be better as emails, but hey, sometimes you do have to have those. But anytime you need a meeting where you need to share ideas or you need to come to a greater understanding, the techniques that we're going to go over will help you structure those meetings so that you get better conversation and better sharing, and ultimately better solutions can come out of that. The second half of this course, we're going to talk about workshopping. Workshopping is basically the same as facilitation, but workshopping has a more specific goal in that you're going to have some type of output at the end of the workshop. And typically that workshop output is some type of prototype that you can then go and use to test to see if the ideas that came out of that meeting are good ideas or bad ideas and how you can refine them to continually improve them. So facilitation, think of it as sort of like your building block. It's a meeting of the minds. Workshopping is a meeting of the minds where some type of output happens at the end that allows you to test a concept or theory. Okay, so before we go into Facilitation 101, I am going to stop the share for a second, and I'm going to open it up. So far, any questions? All right. See a head shake. Okay, great. And like I said, please feel free to stop or pause or throw a question into the chat window. So, all right. Great, great, great. Okay. And all right. So we're going to go into the facilitation section of it. Before we get started, a couple questions for the group. Has anybody had an exciting meeting where you thought, okay, we're going to have some great things, and then the meeting happened and what you'd hoped happened didn't happen? Has anybody ever experienced that disappointment of a meeting not going quite the way you wanted to go? See a couple thumbs up, see a couple of head shakes. Yep, yep, yep. All right. So when you signed up for this meeting facilitation course, what were, you can either unmute and shout it out or put it in the text. What were the things that you wanted to get out of this course? Just so I can sort of help level set. Most meetings. This could have been an email. I love that. My wife sent me a cartoon where somebody had a little flag and it said, I survived another meeting. That could have been an email. Okay, so a couple of people are saying they want to focus on how to get good answers to questions or concerns, how to have productive meetings that accomplish goals. That's great. Facilitate a lot of meetings, and I try to do them from an inclusive lens. Oh, I love that. I want to see the rest of that. Always looking for more skills in the area. Excellent. Great. How to engage audience and colleagues that encourage them to participate. Yep. Interested in the workshop portion. Great. Okay, wonderful. Encourage participation, learn specific tools and skills. Okay, wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. Excellent. Yeah, I love this. I appreciate this because this will help me tune this. Every single one of these is a little bit different. Oh, encouragement. Encourage open feedback. Okay, so Laura, I'm going to pick on you for a second. Can you give me an example of what happens when you have a meeting that isn't, that you don't get feedback? Is it just, it's presented and then everyone just sits there? Or are you talking about a situation where you don't get feedback in time and because of that, you're on the wrong pathway? Can you give me a little more about that one?
It's more or less when you don't welcome open feedback. Say, for instance, we can go into a meeting, a question can be asked, and then when people start providing feedback, then the feedback gets cut off.
Oh.
not receptive to hearing it, but yet you ask the question.
Yeah, that's it. And in your experience, what happens to the energy in the room when that happens? When
It changes. It changes. It becomes negative, and then it gets closed down, and then there's no productivity at all.
Yeah. And why do you think that those get cut off? Is it personalities? Is it time? What are, in your experience, why does feedback sessions get cut off like that?
It gets cut off because people are not willing to actually hear the other person. They want it to be their concept only, but not look at something that can actually help or resolve the situation. It becomes one-minded, and they're not open to different situations.
Excellent. Yeah, you do run into that a lot. There's a little bit of, and everyone can be guilty of this. When you have an idea that you're excited about, it's a little bit scary to put that out there in the group because you don't want it to get, damaged. And then you want people to love the idea as much as you do. So sometimes you're like, oh, here's a great idea. And don't give me any feedback because I don't want anybody to knock this great idea down. So sometimes it can be a little bit scary. That being said, when you put ideas out there and you allow other people to add to them, it's like adding ornaments to the tree, right? It can become more beautiful. So yeah, that's great. I really appreciate you bringing that up. We're going to talk specifically about techniques. It's one of the major techniques that I use a lot in workshops that help get around that very issue.
Okay.
Wonderful. Redirecting conversation in a respectful way. That's a good one. That's a good one too. We'll talk about that one in a little bit. And engage the group so people don't hide out. Oh, that's a good one. That happens especially in groups where people are a little bit shy or they don't know each other. That can go a little bit back to psychological safety. Tim, do you want to say a little bit more about that? Is that something that happens a lot in meetings that you experience?
Yeah, especially in larger groups, people sometimes feel the safety of the larger groups so they don't have to speak. So sometimes it's up to us to engage them, to actually call them out and say, hey, what do you think about this? So and so, and if you find that people are hiding out too much.
Excellent. Yeah, and the way I also experience is there is a difference between extroverts and introverts in the group. You have some ridiculous extroverts, guilty, and then you have introverts in a group or who are have great ideas but a little less like throwing them out there in your face kind of thing. One of the techniques we're going to talk about in a few moments, a little bit of a spoiler here, is silent brainwriting. It's a wonderful technique to get everyone's ideas out there in a very open way so that people who might be a little quieter can see that their contributions are being received. But also it keeps the extroverts from dominating because their ideas are just one of the papers that are in with everyone else's. Oh, interesting. Microaggressions. Do you just let them go? Oh, that is a wonderful question. We are going to talk about that a little bit, but maybe not in a way that'll be completely answering your question, Colleen. That is a great conversation. I would love to give that the energy it deserves. Could I be so rude as to kind of push that conversation to a little bit further in the schedule? But I do want to talk about that one because I think that's great you brought that up.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, do you want to give me a little bit more on how you're experiencing those?
Yeah, so a lot of times when I'm in group meetings, I feel like women's comments are not given the same respect or attention that men's comments are given. And sometimes it's really blatant, like two men in the group were recognized for being an expert, and the woman who was there had equal expertise, and she was ignored.
Oh, God, I hate that. Yeah, I have seen that, especially in technical fields. I need a little bit of time to figure out how to structure that conversation in there, so I'm not ignoring you. And actually in the text, Nicholas said that they have a class just on that topic in Pennsylvania. So that's awesome. You might want to connect because I'm curious to know, Nicholas, about that class, as I'd love to sit in that as well. But yeah, wonderful. Yeah, IT, one field where you don't see that as often, typically, and I'm going to be sort of speaking out of turn here, you don't see this much in nursing. My wife's a nurse, and because it's more female dominated, you don't see the gender necessarily, but you do see sometimes seniority as how people will shut down conversation from others. So that is a really great topic of conversation. And sorry, I'm sort of thinking out loud. Some of the stuff we will talk about in setting up the environment will address that, but I'm going to parking on that. We'll get back to that in a second. Well, thanks for the wonderful feedback, everybody. This is really great, and I really appreciate this feedback. It gives me an idea of how to tune some of the topics here. So what I'm planning on doing is I'm going to go through the slides quickly to give you an idea of the techniques and the cadence of a facilitation. And then after that, we're going to break into rooms, and we're going to have a shared virtual whiteboard that I'll show you in a moment. And that shared virtual whiteboard will be your tool for the rest of this class. When we do this class in the physical spaces, I usually take over a wall or a window like this, and that is where all the ideas go. We plaster wallpaper a wall with stickies and ideas. We're going to use a virtual version of that wall in this class because we're all in different locations. But the techniques should work in either a virtual world or a real life world. So, okay. So I'm going to share screen here really quickly. So we're going to go back into the slides here. I'm just going to give you, oops. So I didn't mean to do that. We're going to go quickly over the techniques, and then we're going to practice them together. Okay. All right, so facilitations, generally speaking, have 5 phases. Now, again, you can adjust this, but in my experience, I found that these 5 general phases fit with what activities we typically do. You prep for the meeting, and depending on the size of the meeting, the prep can be super simple, or it can be a lot longer. It can sometimes take days and weeks. There's always an opening to a facilitation. Then there's the actual session itself, making sure you're managing that properly. And then you should always have some type of closing or follow-up for your facilitation sessions. So key points, again, don't need you to write these all down. I will be happy to share these slides, but a couple that I wanted to point out is that you as a facilitator, you don't have the answers. And having that humility of saying like, hey, the point of this is I'm facilitating the discussion. You all have the answers because you're all the experts. That frees you from the stress of having to know everything. You're in some ways, you're coaching and helping these teams get to where they're trying to go together. You also want to focus on the shared values. So Colleen, this touches a little bit on what you were saying with the microaggressions, but one of the things we like to do when we're setting ground rules is when we say we are going to agree to disagree, everyone's going to get a chance to speak, everyone here has expertise, and the shared value we're trying to say is we're going to come together and we're going to share ideas and we're going to see what comes out of it. And if we all agree to share these ideas equally, then we're all going to be able to enjoy the fruits of what comes out of it. So that sounds a little bit flowery, but that is a way to start level setting those conversations so that it's like, okay, we're all here for a reason. Everyone here has an equal chair at the table. All right. Okay, so these are 2 quotes that I tend to have in the back of my mind when I talk about facilitations, and I try to touch on them in the facilitation early on when level setting, is that we're here to find some sort of shared understanding. And as I was saying before, you're not there to make everyone agree. It might be impossible for everyone to agree, but if you have a shared understanding of everyone's viewpoint or everyone's role or everyone's needs in whatever problem you're discussing, it helps you come together to come up with collectively better ideas. And also, a lot of times, for example, when we're doing workshops, part of what we're trying to do is we're trying to exchange skills or exchange some type of knowledge. And so I try to tell folks, we're here to empower you with some types of skills exchange or knowledge exchange to make you successful. And that's one of the beauties of workshopping, is that if you're talking about a process, for example, very few times do you come across a process that someone knows every single step of the process. Generally speaking, different people have expertise in different parts of the process. So by sharing your different viewpoints and your expertise on those different parts, you can cobble together what the whole thing looks like. And that actually helps you create a much more holistic view of a process, so you can be successful in trying to improve it. Okay, so before facilitation, do your research, find out the topic in as much detail as possible. I also like to try and know a bit about the participants. Do you have a clear idea of what they want to get out of the session? Which is why we asked that question a few seconds ago of, hey, what were your expectations when you signed up? And you want to come to some realistic outcome before agreeing to have a session. So with training, I don't expect you to be able to use every single technique that I share with you today perfectly when you go back home. What I expect and what I hope is that one or two of them will really stick out and you'll go and you'll try them. The idea is that I want the thing to be so simple that you trip on it on the way out the door because you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to totally be able to use that. Also, one of my mentors, a lot of the facilitation techniques that we talk about today come from an organization called Aspiration Tech. They really talk about facilitations really being negotiations, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to figure out, what do people want to get out of this ahead of time? You want it to be worth everyone's time. So your best events are going to be pre-negotiated in that you've talked to some of the major players and you understand this is what they want the world to look like. And if you know exactly what they're after and you've sort of been like, okay, this is where we're seeing agreement, then the beauty of this session is that everyone can sit across from each other and see everybody nod and go, yeah, we agree on this. And it looks like it was kind of these magical barriers got broken, but the more you can pre-negotiate ahead of time and really understand what the sticking points are and try to smooth those over, then the better the session will go, because we can focus on the things that are more productive than just arguing back and forth perspective. So, okay. So you also want to make sure the right people are in the room if you're talking about something that has a decision. So for example, you might need to negotiate who's in the room. I've been in a lot of meetings where one of the key subject matter experts has been left. This actually just happened last week. There was a person, she had incredible firsthand knowledge, but they didn't invite her to the meeting because her boss was a little bit threatened by her expertise. Now, this person has no designs on her boss's position. She just wants to get this fixed. So I had to go in ahead of time and negotiate, hey, can we get so-and-so in the room? I think her perspective would be incredibly valued to this conversation. In fact, I think we'd get more out of the conversation with her there than me parroting what she's saying, because she has deeper insight. So they brought her into the meeting and we had a wonderful meeting. And in fact, the boss got a chance to go, wow, you really do enjoy what you do. And it was able to put aside some of that fear of like, hey, you're after my job. No, because she really enjoys what she's doing, and there was no need for that. It was an unspoken fear that we were able to address just by getting everybody in the room. So you have to be able to manage and think about some of those relationships. I know it seems a little exhausting, but it's a good technique. So one of the things that we do, I tell my teams, if it's going to be something that you in your research have found that there might be some friction, come up with a stakeholder chart and then find out how ready people are to engage with others in that group who might have different opinions. This is just a simple grid that we will use for that. We'll put together, the participants, what are their motivations, what's their desired outcomes, and then we'll look at incentives. A lot of times that incentive column is a good place to start. If you have two people or two groups that are opposed to each other, you can start looking at the incentives and see where they're aligned. If they're aligned and they're just, and their disagreement might be from tactics or perhaps a piece of strategy, the alignment and the incentives can help you start opening up that conversation and crafting what that looks like for them to forge some shared agreement, or excuse me, shared understanding of their whatever they're beefing about, right? Okay. So we're going to talk a lot about the how as we go through the exercises, but the things that you have your groups do can be really helpful in how the facilitation goes. For example, if the problem with groups is that they don't really clearly understand the other group's position, there's techniques that we'll do where you can, that we'll show in a second, that can make those ideas quite visible. And then when the ideas are visible on the wall, it makes it easier to go, oh, these are similar. This is where we can draw some type of partnership to make this better. You also sometimes need to manipulate the meeting space. And again, this can be done either in a virtual environment or even in a physical environment, where if there's a need to get certain groups of people to work together in a way that they don't normally do, it might be useful to have the room structured with small tables in certain areas of the room, where depending on the experts, you can send experts who need to work together into certain corners. So they're sitting together and working together, and if they normally don't see each other because of geography or because of the way the office is structured, put them together so they can work together. And then you can have different zones for different types of experts or different types of interactions that need to happen. Whether it's physical or virtual, you also need to make sure you have the right supplies and equipment. And we'll talk about this again in a second. My two tools of choice are sticky notes, the 3x5 size, so the slightly wider ones. Those are the preferred form factor because you can write a little more on those than the 3x3 square ones. They're okay, but I really prefer the 3x5s. And also Sharpies. I give everybody a black medium point Sharpie because you can read them more easily at a distance. And sometimes you have folks who have low vision. And so being able to see the high contrast black ink in larger print just makes it easier for people to read. And I try to do that also in virtual spaces, try to use a larger font when possible. 18-point font, if you can control that on your materials, is like the minimums for legibility. And then also we try to have handouts if necessary as follow-up materials. Okay. Like I was just saying, scouting location is important. You might need wall space. You might want to have breakout spaces, tables set up for certain types of conversations. Same with Zoom. If you're doing a Zoom meeting, be sure you're the host so you can create breakout rooms if you need to. You can record things, you can manage people, let people in and out of the room if necessary. Okay, so I'm going to go through these quickly. When you open, you want to present the ground rules just like I did. And one of the things you want to ask is you want to say, does anybody disagree with sticking these ground rules during the meeting? And sometimes during facilitations, things can get a little bit heated. And if you get somebody who's starting to showboat a little bit and starting to dominate the conversation, you can point back to the ground rules, literally, and just point to the 1/n of a time and say, hey, folks, remember we all agreed that we were going to share our ideas and we were going to try to speak 1/n of the time. And just coming back to that shared agreement helps people go like, oh, yep, I'm talking too much. Thanks. And oh, I see a comment there. If anybody wants to add to the ground rules. Yeah. And again, the ground rules are not carved in stone. A lot of times they're written on a large on a large Post-it or on paper, so you can add to them. That's a great suggestion. So again, this is another copy of the ground rules that we typically use. So depending on the type of facilitation, we might remove some of these. For example, sometimes we will, no, actually, this is kind of the core. We might have some extra ones, but these are always the ones that we have. All right. So in any facilitation or course or anything else, the old rule of 3, tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell you told them, is a great way to structure the overarching narrative of the facilitation. So like I said before, when I showed you that slide, we're going to do facilitation. We're going to do techniques and then practice. We're same thing. We're going to do workshop, techniques, and practice. Tell them you're going to tell them. Now I'm in the middle of telling you. And at the end, we're going to do a quick review, which will be telling you told them. So we're going to practice these in a bit. I love these. I highly recommend starting with an icebreaker. We did a quasi one where we did the one-word check-in. I'm going to show you another couple of fun ones. These are so important, even for groups that know each other, because it creates energy, but it also can help you carve that safe space where it's like Vegas rules here, folks, or what are those Chatham House rules, I guess is the other way to put it, where everything that's said here is going to stay here. It'll be non-attributable to a person. So we want you to be more honest so that we can get to a great shared understanding. And you don't have to worry that when you spoke the truth, it'll come back to haunt you. Safe space. And we're going to do a fun one called a spectrogram in a little bit. It's a great warm up. When you're in a physical space, there's another couple good ones where it's a repeated gesture where one person does a gesture, they turn to the person, and that person has to copy the gesture and then turn to the person next to them and create a new gesture. So humans are empathetic creatures, so that when you mimic the movements of someone else, you start to get into that mindset of being in the other person's headspace in a positive way, where you're like, oh, we're here for the same thing. Okay. So we're going to do a spectrogram in a minute. Spectrograms, generally speaking, are you pick a question or a statement that kind of has extremes. So in a sort of silly example, are you team Iron Man or are you team Captain America? And then people will move themselves physically. We usually tape off the floor. And you have people stand if they're on Team Iron Man on one side, or are they kind of in the middle, and team or the other extreme. And then what you do is you have one representative from each extreme say why they're Team Iron Man or Team Captain America. And after they're done speaking, people are allowed to move their position. So what that lets you do is it lets you see, hey, this is why you believe what you believe, or this is why you're on this side. I could be convinced by that. So it's just a fun exercise, not only to see where people stand on something, but also to start turning on some of those empathetic neurons there. So we're gonna do this exercise in 1 second. I need to set up the board and show you guys how to use that before we do it. So let me stop there. And without further ado, let's get into the fun stuff. So, hey, I'm gonna do one bit of business keeping. Graham, thanks for joining. I'm going to make you another co-host, because I might need help in a moment. Okay, so I'm going to put into the chat a link to a mural board. Now, the mural board looks like, hang on. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen just for a second, just to show you all what mural looks like. So we're going to go into mural. Mural is this. It is a shared whiteboard. It's this huge jam space, basically, where you can drop things. So we're going to spend a few minutes practicing on this mural board here, because we're going to use it a lot for the rest of the exercise. So I'm going to send you this link in one moment, but wanted to show you a couple of quick how-tos on it. So if you're using a device with a trackpad, like a touchpad, you can pinch zoom to move in and out of the map. If you're using a mouse with a scroll wheel, I did it too much, excuse me. If you use a mouse with a scroll wheel, you can use the scroll wheel up and down to zoom in, zoom out. Also, in the bottom right here, you see a little miniature version of the canvas. You can press the plus and the minus here to zoom in and out. And that lets you make this screen any size that you need. Now, to navigate, you can click on any white space and just move your, oops, sorry, that's to select. And that's to move your, if you click on this little hand here, you can click on any white space and that lets you move the canvas. Then when you get what you want to see in the middle of the screen, you can use the plus minus here to zoom in. Now, if you're using a trackpad, you can use a 2-finger scroll to move left and right. You can also shift click to scroll if you are using a PC, or you can use a the right click button. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to show you was over here in the menu is where you're going to find all of the little tools that you can drop in. So if you click on text, these are the sticky notes. So like I was saying before, 3x5 sticky notes are super handy. You can click on this and it'll drop one into the middle of your screen. And when you click on it, you can type anything you want inside of it here. If you want to create another sticky, you can double click next to it and it'll create another sticky right next to it, same size, same color. If you want to change the size of a sticky, when you click on it, it pops up this little menu here. These A buttons make your font bigger or smaller. You can also change the font size. You can change the color of your sticky notes. And this one right here, the switch type, what that lets you do is it lets you change the size of your sticky notes. So you have a 3-inch, the 3x5, you also have a circle. So for most of this, we're going to use the 3x5. So what I would like everyone to do is we're going to warm up and we're going to play around with this canvas. You can't screw this canvas up. So when I give you the link, what I'd like you to do is either grab one of these and you can hold down, you can either right click or you can and duplicate, or you can double click. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Or you can just grab one of these and write your name on it. But what I would like you to do is grab a sticky note and then scroll down to the map and drop in here, what is your dream vacation location? So if you want to, let's say, visit Greenland, you can drop a sticky here and you can put your name right there. I'm not sure if I really want to visit Greenland, but for the purpose of, so what I'd like you to do is just get some practice dropping in sticky notes. If you have a couple locations, feel free to drop in sticky notes in a few locations. But this is a chance to play around with this tool, make mistakes, figure out how to use it, because we're going to be using this tool a lot. Okay, so I'm going to give you the link right now. And this is copy link. And this board will also get us to the other boards we're going to use throughout the exercise. So for the next, until our break, I just want everyone to get into the mural here and come off mute. Let me know if you have trouble getting into it. But get into the mural board and drop a pen in, or drop a sticky note with your name on your dream vacation spot. Great, I see a bunch of people in here. Excellent, excellent. And yeah, feel free to use one of the colorful ones in the upper corner there. If they're already gone, then just drop a regular sticky note in there. Just play around with it. I want you to get comfortable in this area of using sticky notes. Oops. I'm going to move this one back because we need it for later. Sorry. Oh, the one that says journey map, I need that one for a later exercise. So I'm going to, oh, no. Okay.
All right, I'm having a hard time getting into it.
Okay, no problem. Hang on a sec. Let me, are you having trouble with the link or
Yep.
are you?
With the link, because it's telling me it can't open it. So something I'm doing.
What kind of error message is it giving you?
All right, let me go back. Digital space for virtual collaboration. Come on, give me the message back. Safari cannot open the page because the address is invalid.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so you're using Safari. Let me do this. Okay. I'm dropping I think it's the same version. I dropped another version of the link in there. Try that. If not, do you have Chrome or any other browser on your computer?
Yeah.
If
So I just
Safari
need to
gives you a
copy and
hard time,
paste it.
try a different browser.
And then,
Sorry.
let's see if it's going to be copy and paste.
Oh yeah, and when you copied it, you might have missed a character, and so sometimes that's what happens. If it was missing, like, especially that 8079 on the very end of the link, it needs that. And Michaela, is it? I'm apologies if I'm saying your name wrong. Michaela, did it load up for you, or is it still just spinning?
It would be me.
Oh, did you get in?
Hold on, it's trying to think.
Okay.
Now it needs to stop being difficult.
When
When I want it to work faster, it does.
It's giving
When
you
I want it,
trouble.
it won't.
Okay.
All right, it don't want to do this.
It's still giving you trouble, or do you?
Yep, it's still giving me problems, but I'm wondering if it's because it's on the tablet. You don't want me to do it on the tablet.
Oh, yeah. If you're on a tablet, it can work, but yeah, it sometimes can create a bit of a headache there. So, okay. Ooh, yeah. You might be a little frustrated with the tablet there, but you should still be able to get in there. Okay. So I see a lot of stickies all over the map here, some interesting places. So Michaela, you still are on Chrome and you don't have permission to enter this site with Chrome. Okay. So there's a couple folks who are having trouble getting in. Let me, visitor can edit. Okay. All right, but it looks like we are starting to, there's a couple of folks who are having trouble, and I'm going to, all right. So it looks like Michaela, you're having trouble. Looks like Florence, you're having trouble. I know Laura, you were having trouble with the tablet. Is anyone else having trouble? And put either raise your hand or put something in the chat. Sugar, to delete a note, all you do is click on it and then hit the delete key. You can also right click on a note, or you can right click on a note and then it brings up a little pop-up menu. And the very last option in the pop-up menu is delete. All right. Okay, so what I'd like to do, since we're at the top of the hour, is I'd like to give everybody a 5-minute break. So if you can, come on back at 11 o'clock. For folks who are having trouble with Mural, I'll stay on and try to help you troubleshoot. So specifically, I think there's 2 folks. Michaela, you are on Chrome. You're still having trouble with it spinning. And Florence, you are getting a no permission error, which is a little bit weird. So yeah, so folks, why don't you come back at 11? I'll pause the recording for now. Folks who need to stay on and get help with Chrome, I'm happy to help. All right. Sometimes it works. Okay, so looks like the second link. So it sounds like some folks are having trouble with that first link, and the second link is working. The second link is where we're going to do next for the next exercise. So I'm going to share my screen just to show you all something. But from this mural, let me show you the one that I'm talking about. Okay, so hopefully you got a little bit of experience with some of these sticky notes and just clicking them and creating them and moving them around. And hopefully we got some cool locations. Looks like there's a bunch of stuff here in Hawaii. So hopefully people are trying to visit the middle of the Pacific Ocean. But cool. So it's actually, once you get the hang of it, a pretty intuitive tool. Like I said, in real life, we like to use Post-it notes and we stick them all over the walls. So we're going to use these virtual stickies. So if everyone can scroll to the class exercise link, so it's in column 3. So ignore this one for a moment. If you look at this spectrograph exercise, there's a little tiny button in the corner here. It says Open Mural. If you click, and I'll also put this in the chat, but if you click on Open Mural, it will open the new board that we're working on, the spectrogram, in a new window, and you should see this. Again, I'm going to share this link in the chat. But what I'd like everybody to do is, when you get into the spectrogram, I'd like you to grab one of these name tags. Remember what I said before, you can double click next to it to copy it. But get a name tag and write your name on it, and then just hold on to it, and I'll explain the exercise in a moment. But I want to make sure everyone is in here. So I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to drop the link to the spectrograph exercise in the chat. So either click on that Open Mural from the world map board, either click on that one, or use the link that I just dropped. We can get into the, where are we? Then I would like you to put your name onto the put your name onto a name tag. Great. And you might need to play around with the zoom, but you want to be able to see the line in your screen pretty clearly. You want to be able to see both ends. And I just closed the screen, so I just left. Okay. Great. Is there anyone who is unable to get into the spectrograph? Either show of hands or, all right, so Florence, you can't. Okay, so it looks like there's still a few people having trouble getting into it. Oh boy. All right, let's see. I'm going to can edit. Okay. Okay. It's showing up with, wow, 57 people are in there. That's amazing. I think I had 57 people in here. Okay. So it looks like some folks are still, I'm going to put the link in here one more time. Okay. So for those of you who can't participate, I'm going to still try to troubleshoot you with you here in a bit. But what I'd like to do is give everybody the instructions. It looks like some folks, you might have to play around with the Zoom to be able to see your sticky note. But what I'd like you to do is grab your name tag. And so what? Okay, so okay, so what I would like, so I'm going to ask a question. So the way a spectrogram works is you ask everyone a question and you put the extremes on either side, and everybody takes their name tag, or if you're doing this in a physical space, you physically stand on the line. So this black line in the middle represents the two extremes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask a question and then I'm going to let you know what each is. So I'm going to put yes. Okay, and okay. So the question is, and I'm putting this at the two extremes. So one extreme you see yes, and at the other you will see no. And the question is, downhill skiing is the best winter Olympic sport. And on the right is yes, I agree it's the best Olympic sport. And on the left, it's no. Downhill skiing is the best winter Olympic sport. Yes on the right, no on the left. And you're allowed to be in the middle. Okay, so we seem to have a bunch on no, and we have a couple on yes. So would anybody who is on the yes side of the argument, would you like to tell us why you think it's the best winter sport? Let's see, I see Martin, I see Annette. Is anybody, all right, anybody on the extremes on yes want to say what their argument is for it's the best winter sport? Lauren, Cassandra, Martin.
Looks like Martin has an answer in the chat.
Oh, okay, there we go. What's the answer in the chat here? It has the, okay, it has the best view of the mountain. Another argument is it's fast, exciting, and dangerous. Yep, all great reasons, all great reasons. So based on those answers, great view of the mountain, it's exciting. Does anybody want to change their position? Go ahead and feel free to drag them if you were convinced by that argument. Okay, so would somebody on the no side, it's not the most exciting winter, not the best winter sport. Does somebody on the no side want to argue for your case?
Yeah, I can jump in, Chaeny.
Okay,
I don't
please.
think that downhill skiing is the best sport. Like if we're talking in terms of Olympics, which I've been watching a lot of recently, I feel like it's just not as exciting as like something like the half pipe or like figure skating. I think there are definitely other strong contenders in this realm that are better than downhill skiing.
Okay, what would you put in its place?
I think it has to be the half pipe jumps for me. I feel like people like doing like snowboard tricks they're always really cool to watch. So I mean, I can't do them myself, but I wish I could.
Cool. Half pipe. Okay. Okay. So after hearing that argument for half pipe, does anybody want to change their position? Okay. Okay, cool. Good. Good. Okay, so that was just a quick example of like a good warm-up one. So what I like to do is I like to ask, 2 or 3 of these spectrographs. The idea is it gets people thinking, it gets people talking, it gets people, opening up their minds. So I'm going to ask the second one, and typically this is where I start to get a little more controversial. So the question I'm going to ask is, I think I can change the culture of my organization. I believe I can change the culture of my organization. Yes on the right, no on the left. So go ahead and move your sticky to I believe I can change the culture of my organization. Now again, the point of a spectrograph is you start with a softball, and then you start to ask questions that are a little more personal is not the right word, but a little more, well, yeah, I guess a little more personal. The idea is you want to start getting people to get comfortable sharing in this group, and seeing where other people are placing themselves helps you go like, okay, cool, I'm not the only one. So for folks who feel that they can make a positive change and they can change their organization's culture, please share. Why do you feel that way? This is better when I don't have to call on somebody.
All right, I'll jump in.
Perfect.
I put myself on the other side. California Conservation Corps, we're a small organization. I've been here for 2.5 years. And while I definitely can't change culture by myself, I can be a change agent and I can help cultural changes happen and cultural shifts happen. And I put myself kind of on the yes because in only 2.5 years, I've already started impacting the culture here at the CCC. So I have actual evidence and proof that it's possible.
Okay, excellent. So being a change agent, you feel like yes, because you are part of a larger movement to make positive change. Great. Excellent. So after hearing that, folks feeling like they want to move their card, if you do, please feel free. You can move your card at any time. So folks who are more on the no side of being able to change the culture of the organization, would anybody like to share? And I know this can be a little bit uncomfortable, but safe space. We're nothing leaves the bounds of this class. And if you want, I can even pause the recording. Anyone?
I'll go ahead and say something just because I hate to be left hanging. Chaeny, can you hear me?
I can hear someone talking, but just
It's coming.
barely.
Oh, sorry. It might be my headset. Is that any better?
It is a little bit better,
I
yeah.
might have to change. Sorry about that. So I was more towards the no side just because my organization is huge and it's very hierarchical and I'm towards the bottom.
Yes, and I that makes a lot of sense. So for folks, it's because bigger organizations, bigger with established hierarchies, are harder to feel like you could make change because you know, especially if you're new, because it's established and there's a lot of layers to go through. So great, thank you for sharing. Really appreciate that. All right. So thanks for sharing, everybody. That is the spectrograph exercise. It's one that I tend to use not every time, but if it's a bigger group or if it's a group where you feel like the audience and the participants may not necessarily be seeing eye to eye, it's a way to open up with a few kind of easier questions to make it okay for people to go, hey, yeah, I agree with you. You know, we may not agree with this work issue, but we both like pizza, or we both, you know, agree we like to watch the Olympics on TV. And then you can start getting into questions that are good feeders into the content for the facilitation itself. So usually the third question, let's say we were doing a facilitation on changing admission policy for state hospitals. The third question I might ask would be something along the lines of, I believe our admission policies are accurate, or I believe our admission policies are effective. And just let the chips fall where they may. And so what you're doing is you're giving people an idea, a chance to take the temperature, see where others fall, but also giving yourself the flexibility to move around. And it's a quick exercise. We typically do this. I've already spent more time on this than I normally would. Normally we do it in like 5-10 minutes, but I highly recommend that you try this out. If you feel like, hey, this isn't great for my organizational culture, no problem. We're going to talk about a couple of other like good ice-breaking exercises, but I wanted to show you this one because I've seen it work in groups of 100. I've seen it work in groups of 5, and it very least gets people talking. So I wanted to share this one with you. So any questions or observations on the spectrograph? Another pro tip I'll give you on the spectrograph, if you're doing it in real life, use painter's tape. Do not use duct tape because we put, you know, you're putting painter's tape on the floor, literally. And like we mark, you know, the extremes, then I typically mark 50%, 75, 25, you know, the quarters. If you use duct tape, you might ruin the carpet. So please, please use painter's tape. It will save you a little bit of anxiety later on when it comes time to take the tape up. So great. Great. Anybody think that they would use this exercise in facilitation? Okay. Couple of yeses. Great. You have. Okay, wonderful. And the flip side of it, anybody think, nope, wouldn't use this one, not for me? And it's okay. Like I said, I don't, so my goal is to give you a grab bag of different techniques, not, you know, one size fits all. Okay, great. Excellent. All right, I'm going to share screen again, and I'm just going to show you a couple of other techniques, and then we're going to get into the kind of core skill that I like to use in just about every single facilitation and workshop that I do. So let me share screen again here. Are we recording? Graham, are we good on recording? Yes, we are. Okay, cool. All right. Great. I'm going to share screen again. I'm going to go back into slides. Okay. So we did the spectrogram there. So we know whose team Iron Man and whose team Captain America. Okay. So managing the session, controlling the narrative. this is kind of the art and behind the science. This is where one of my mentors likes to talk about in the meeting. You're going to run into power dynamics, and the terminology that he uses, which I really love, is that you're going to have the love bringers, and those are the folks who who are like they're leaning into the meeting. They they want to get something out of it. They're slapping sticky notes on the wall all over the place. Then you have the control takers, which are people who are a little bit like, oh, no, I don't want to do this exercise. I would rather just sit here and talk about, my idea that everyone should enjoy because I'm super important. We've all run into that person, and, you want to be respectful, but you want to try and put the power towards the love bringers. You want the control takers to feel comfortable becoming a love bringer, going, yeah, we love to hear your ideas, and your ideas are important. Put them on a sticky and put them on the wall so we can see them next to all the other ideas. So the key is to take folks who might be sitting there, arms crossed, don't want to participate, and say, like, we'd love to hear your ideas. You bring something important to this meeting. Write it on a sticky. I've actually sat with people and said, like, tell me what's important to you. What's your best idea? And I've written it down for them. And then I've stuck it to the wall. And then I've said, like, hey, is that accurate? Is that what you think? And then they're like, oh yeah, that's cool. And then I've taken a second idea and I've on purpose written something down minor incorrectly. Like, oh, I think we could improve this 30% if we blah, blah, blah. And I'll write down 13%. And I'll stick it on the wall and I'll say, okay, so we can improve it 13%. Oh, no, it's 30. And then I'll hand the pen and I'll say, like, oh, here's a pen. Can you fix this? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you correctly there. And then they'll rock up and then they'll start. And then they're on the wall, they're writing, they're engaged. So you find respectful ways to take to bring them into the love bringer category. Everybody wants to be heard. Everybody wants to be part of it. Make it fun. So that's the one thing I'll say about the power dynamics. Group therapy. There have been more than once, and this is actually a really positive thing. Sometimes your group just needs to vent. And sometimes you start with a plan of what you're going to do in your facilitation. And what it turns into is you giving everybody equal space to talk about what their complaint is. And I'll stop sharing this for a second, just like, this is actually a really powerful tool. And sometimes doing a group therapy session, we say that tongue in cheek is a bit of a laugh, but it really is. Giving folks that chance to talk creates that psychological safety, creates that safe space. I'll give an example from one of the departments that we were working with. We were doing a project to change how a process worked across the state. And we had representatives from each of these physical locations, 5 different locations, and they had to pass documentation back and forth. And they were constantly frustrated with each other because when organization or location A would send something to location B, they would send it and they're like, oh, they constantly send us this documentation and it's missing this, this, and this. And when they do this, now I have to call and I have to talk to someone at location C to see if C is a better location. And they go back and forth and they end up getting, so they're frustrated with each other. At the beginning of this workshop, they were literally sitting on opposite sides of the room, glaring at each other because they didn't know each other in person, but they knew the names from the emails. And so we sat down and we said, okay, let's talk about this. We did an exercise I'll talk about in a minute, journey mapping, where they could see the process. And as they were talking, they were able to go like, hey, when you send this and it's missing this piece of information, I have to do all these other steps. And then the person was able to say to them, yeah, but the reason I do that is because I'm missing this and my county doesn't let me do whatever. And then the conversation turned into, oh, that's why you do that. Oh, that's why you need that. By the end of this group, it was a solid hour. We just let people back and forth and, kept it heated. When it got stuck on a point that wasn't where we'd say like, okay, so let's figure out how we can fix that later. Tell me more about what happens after that process. We would move the conversation along. At the end, we had people sharing pictures of each other's kids. We had people talk, but what it did is it created a human-to-human connection, and now they could work together to figure out that problem. So I say group therapy, and I kind of, it's a bit of a, like I said, it's a bit of a tongue-in-cheek, but don't discount that. If you were in a facilitation, it starts turning into that, throw your agenda out the window and let people talk. And then your job is to give everyone equal space to talk about what their concern is and give them space to hear each other. You're not fixing it. You're not solving it. You're letting them hear each other in a safe environment where they can go, I understand why that's frustrating for you. Here's why it's frustrating for me. And just have that exchange. It's incredibly cathartic. It can seem a little uncomfortable at first. It's one of the best things that you can do if the conversation goes that way. So don't push against it. It's actually cathartic. Let it happen, but keep control of it so that it stays in the love bringer category. Does that make sense? I hope I'm getting some virtual head nods there. Okay, cool. I got one. Okay, great. Cool. All right, I'm gonna go back to sharing slides just for a second. Oh, come on, where is my slide? Okay, there it is. Okay, so here's another thing I want to tell you about agenda flexibility. I typically, and I sort of did this a little bit when Colleen brought up that great point about microaggressions. I tend to keep my agenda in the back pocket, meaning I don't tell people the timings. Like, we're going to spend exactly 52 minutes and 33 seconds talking about this. I'll give you general segments. We're going to spend the first hour talking about blah. The second hour, we're going to talk about blah. The reason why is if you need to change your agenda to accommodate something like a group therapy session, or if somebody brings up a really great point and you want to explore it more, you can, and you can tweak the agenda. The reason why is you're occasionally going to run to that person who will push back in a control taker sense of saying like, no, you told us that we were going to spend the next 53 minutes and 22 seconds talking about X, and now you want to talk about Y. Why are you're deviating from the agenda that, we didn't agree to this. So what you want to do is you want to respectfully, have, you want to be able to have a conversation of like, yep, we are going to talk about that, but this is also an important thing. So we're going to take a few minutes. And if you haven't given them an exact time frames, you can be like, oh yeah, we're going to spend some time talking about that and some time talking about this, and letting the conversation go where it needs to. So give yourself that flexibility and that protection by not sharing like minute by minute agendas with everyone. So the whole Roberts rules versions of agendas, that's not for a facilitation. That is great if you're doing a board meeting and you want to read minutes. Don't give yourself that heartburn. Okay, so last thing I'll talk about is closing. Successful meetings, you should summarize what you meant to do, what you did, and then what came out of it. So tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them you told them. If you have parking lot items, go over the parking lot items. Give them the space like, hey, we didn't get to this, but here's another way or another thing we can talk about. This maybe is an email. We can follow up on this later on. Maybe it's another meeting. Maybe it's another facilitation. If there's assignments, if things came out of this facilitation where it's like, okay, so-and-so is going to look up the legislation to make sure that this new idea we agreed on isn't illegal, then so-and-so will follow up via email with the findings by next Wednesday at 3 p.m. Like, make sure the assignments are clear and everyone's agreed to them. Now, you want to make sure that these 4 bullet points are there. Again, we're not ending with an agreement, we're ending with a shared understanding. And if the only thing that comes out of it are improved relationships, consider it successful. In one of my other classes, we talk about the nature of work has changed over the past 30 years. It used to be people had their individual work that they had to do. Modern work and modern business communications, you spend anywhere between 50 to 75% of your day communicating with others. and you spend up to 2/3 of your actual work is team-based assignments. So because our work is much more collaborative, those relationships are important. So if the only thing that comes out of your facilitation is improved relationships, you've actually improved how the organization works. And that is an absolute win. And if the objectives were met early, go ahead and let people leave early. Nothing buys you goodwill towards having another session if you need it than ending early. And any objectives that weren't met, talk about how you'll follow up on those. That's the parking lot sort of thing. Okay. I always like to end facilitations on something that we call plus delta. As people walk out the door, I give them sticky notes and I say, anything that was great about this facilitation, please write a little note and put it under plus. Anything that you want us to change for the next session, please write it down and put it under delta. This, for you as a facilitator and as a facilitation team, gives you that quick feedback on what you can do better next time. Now, in a lot of cases, you send out surveys. That's totally fine. You should still do that. But I really love to grab plus delta as they're walking out the door. And I usually put it right next to the donuts or the coffee or the whatever else they're going to grab on the way out, just so that they you get that in the moment feedback. It's really helpful. And you'd be surprised at the great ideas that come out of plus delta. All right. So the very last thing I want to talk about is follow-up. You want people to have things that they need to do to follow up with this session, but you want them to be so simple that they trip over them on the way out. So for example, you want, you as a facilitator, you want to send out a survey. You want to send out a summary email for the sponsors, for the participants. For your participants themselves, each one needs to have some sticky note item of the thing they're going to do right when they get back to their desk. So simple that their trip on the way out. When I get back to my desk, I'm going to email Joan over in accounting and ask her that thing I didn't know in this session. On my way out this meeting, tomorrow morning, I'm going to sit down with my boss and I'm going to go over the ideas that came out of this and see which one she likes best. Like, you want to have some homework assignment that you can follow up on, because what that does is it makes the time you just spend in the facilitation valuable. Some follow-up came out of it. And if you only do that one thing, at least it was one thing that you wouldn't have done before. So follow-up is very important. And so you as the facilitator, your job is not necessarily to micromanage everyone and go, what's your assignment? What's your assignment? But to ask generally like, hey, what's your simple task that you're tripping on the way out? Ask folks that. Take a couple of samples around the room. And then those are items that you can put in your summary email. So again, you as a facilitator have some jobs that you need to do to finish your facilitation work, but also you need to give the participants that simple homework that they can do right when they get back to their desks. Cool. All right. So we're now going to get into the fun part. We're going to start talking about the facilitation skills. So we're going to spend the next 20 minutes talking about these sort of key skills. We already talked about spectrograms. So I'm going to skip that. We're going to spend most of the time doing affinity analysis, which is also called KJ analysis. Like I said, this is the core skill I use every time. I'm going to show it to you, then we're going to take a break, and then we're going to go into workshopping, because these skills are used a ton in workshopping as well. All right, so we'll get into that in 1 second. I just want to give you a quick introduction to KJ analysis. KJ analysis is basically taking all these sticky notes and doing something structural with them. So the way it works is it has 3 phases to it. First, you have everybody silently write down according to some prompt. So if you're brainstorming or if you're writing out a process, you tell people take as many sticky notes as you need, 1 idea per sticky, go. 5 minutes, you silently write down as much as you can. Then you take all those stickies and you put them on the wall. Then you have people group those stickies together based on affinity, meaning they're similar. So if there's 2 stickies that have the same or very similar idea, you put them physically grouped together. Then after you do your grouping, you take a second pass and you give a name, a label to that group. And so what that does is it creates an overarching category. So again, write ideas silently, you collect them, you group them, you label them, and then at the end, you vote on the most interesting ones that you want to discuss about later. Now, the voting is also really important because that can lead into the best ideas for prototyping. Jared Spool, who is a brilliant designer, has a great article here. Again, I'm sharing you these slides, so you don't need to worry about writing down this URL. But this article is another great reminder of how to do the technique. So here it is. We're going to do this virtually in the space. I'll open the board in a second, but we're going to write down ideas, one per post-it. We're going to put the ideas on the table. We're going to group them together. And then we are going to give each group a title. And then at the end, we're going to do what's called dot voting, where the one that you feel is the most important, you're going to put a dot next to it. And typically we give people 3 votes per session. So you pick your top 3 groups and you stick them on there. You can even stick them on a particular sticky. If there's a sticky in a group that you're like, that is the winning idea, you can put it on a particular sticky or you can put it on a group. Okay, so I'm going to skip the talk on listening for a second, and I'm going to skip icebreakers. Okay, so let's get into the exercise here. So, okay. Just looking through the comments, there's somebody who wouldn't use spectrogram because it'd rather do it on the wall in person. Yes, no, I agree. Sometimes the technical limitations can make this really frustrating. Okay, so what I would like everyone to do is I would like you to go back into the one with the wall map. Hang on a second, I'm going to share the link again. So the one that had the wall map where you put your favorite vacation location, there is a second section there called with color. What I'd like you to do is I would like you to pick a team. So I'm going to put you into 4 breakout rooms. So I'd like you to pick a room and a color that you like. So I might have to move some people around so they're even, but go ahead and give yourself a team name here or a team color. Oh, you know what though? I'm just thinking I might have a little bit of trouble doing this because I don't have my normal Zoom assistant who can quickly put people in groups. So what I might do is just send you all to rooms and then have you just drop into here which room you're in randomly. So I don't have to take the time out of class to like physically put everybody in their desired room. Are people okay with that? Because I know I want to give you your choice of room, but this might be, I don't want to eat up all of our time here. A couple of head nods. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put everyone into one of 4 breakout rooms. And then based on the number and color of your room, I want you to drop your name into the room that you get put into. Okay. Sorry about that. I'm looking at the time here and I just don't want to spend 20 minutes just getting room assignments. Okay. Okay, I'm going to put you into rooms here. Hang on, I gotta name them. Ooh. wait, pink, orange, yellow, blue, pink, orange, yellow, blue, pink, orange, pink, orange. Pink, orange, yellow, blue. Okay. All right, folks, I'm going to send you into breakout rooms. So what I'd like you to do is check out the room that you're in and then take your name and drop it under the room that you get assigned to, okay? All right, and for folks who end up in a weird spot, I will come in and help you make sure you get put into a room. I know there's somebody joining on the phone. You are, whoever is 9660, you are in orange, but you may not even be able to make a sticky, so that's totally fine, no worries. Okay, go ahead and join your breakout rooms. Okay, so for folks who are still here, Mike, Sadia, Annette, Lynn, are you all having trouble getting into the breakout rooms? Did you step away? It's okay if you did. I just don't want you to be stuck in. Okay. So for folks who are there, I'm going. Okay. I'm going to join the rooms. I'll be back. If you can hear me, I'll put me something in chat if you're in trouble trying to join the breakout rooms. I'll be back in a moment. The pause it and to turn the recording back on. All right, Team Orange, did you come up with a topic that you like?
Yeah, we wanted to focus on how to get like the people we're talking to, our target audience, to listen more empathetically.
Oh, excellent. Okay, people more to do more empathetic listening. Excellent, great, excellent. And room 3, Team Yellow. What did you come up with?
Do you want to come off mute, Stephanie? It was your idea.
No.
Not taking credit. It was a joint effort. We how do we make sure chores get done in the household?
Oh, that's a great one. Cool. Great. Okay, so great. I appreciate it. So we are at the top of the hour. So what I would like to do is, you've been sitting here for a while. Let's take a break, and this is typically our longer break. So let's do a 10-minute break. Let's plan on everyone coming back here at 12:10. And knowing that in reality, we'll really get going around 12:15. But I'm going to go ahead and let's get back at 12:10. I'm going to put into the chat the link for the board that we're doing for the next exercise. So if you get a moment during break, just see if you can jump in there and get into the board. If you can't, I'll be back in about 10 minutes to troubleshoot with you. And maybe room 2 can solve all of our problems in the process, but okay. I'll see you all in 10 minutes. Try that link out, and I will be back in a few minutes in case anybody wants to jump on and troubleshoot. Okay, thanks. Okay, welcome back. Give everybody a few extra minutes. So I was making an iced coffee because, you know, caffeine. Nothing wrong with caffeine, right? So let's see. Do we have folks back yet? If we do, if you're back, can you either come off camera or give me, yeah, an emoticon? That would be great. Hello, Melissa, is that a curtain to your left or is that a, like a divider?
That is my curtain covering my closet because this work from home thing is fantastic.
It's cool. I like it. It's a cool design. Yeah, I don't know if you can see, I'm usually standing in position. You can't see my kids play. There's a giant pink Barbie house and over one shoulder. And
yeah, I just tucked myself into a corner of a bedroom. Earlier when I had my kids around, it was pure chaos. When they realized they could jump in the camera like behind me, that was bad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one thing that's been good about this is people have a lot more patience for like the things that you would be mortified before in the background, like my dog barked or oh, my kid was screaming. It's like totally normal now. Cool. All right. So I'd like to give everybody a quick introduction to the KJ analysis process. So it's what I just talked about. You spend 5 minutes doing silent brain writing, then you group them together, then you categorize them, and then you vote. So we're going to do this as a group, and then we're going to do it again in our small breakout sessions on the problem that I had you guys come up with. So keep that problem statement in the back of your minds, but we're going to do this as a group exercise just really quick, just to give you a chance to try it. So I'd like everybody to jump into that mural board, and it should say AAKJ practice 12-15-22. And it should be a pretty big board. So I'd like you all to jump into it. And what I'd like everyone to do is for this exercise, I'm going to give everybody the same prompt. And so we're going to do it a little bit shorter. We're going to do only, I'm going to put 3 minutes on the clock here, but I would like everybody to brainstorm and just drop in stickies, as many as you can, one idea per sticky. Please use the 3x5 size sticky. So if you are in that text item, grab a 3x5 size sticky note. I just dropped one that's yellow in there. One idea per sticky, and we're going to brainstorm. And here is your prompt. And Melissa, you couldn't have set this up any better for me. The prompt is, I'd like you to brainstorm how we can best handle return to work policy. What's the best way to handle return to work policy? And I'd like you to take 3 minutes to brainstorm ideas on returning to work for the next 3 minutes, one idea per sticky, and go. And one extra note I will give you about brainstorming stickies: try to have a subject and a verb at least in your statement, just so it's clear to others what you mean. So, so subject, verb, object would be great, but at least subject and a verb so we know what thing is being operated on by your suggestion. Excellent. So 2 minutes for anybody who's joining us late. We are in the mural board for the KJ analysis practice, and we're dropping in one idea per sticky for ideas to handle return to work. Got a minute, 30 seconds left. So for example, there's a sticky here that says childcare, which is a great topic. Whoever wrote that, could you drop in a verb for what you mean? Do you mean availability of childcare? Do you mean have childcare available in the place? Like if you can just give us a little more detail with the verb, that would be super helpful. Okay. A little less than a minute. Oh. Looks like someone is having trouble getting in. Looks like Marcia. I'll drop the link again, Marcia, and I'm reinitializing the share. So see if that lets you in. Yep. Okay. All right, go ahead and finish whatever thought you have on the current sticky you're on. And great. And these are, they're all different sizes, but they're all legible. So wonderful. So what I need now is I would like 3 volunteers. So if I can have 3 people raise their hand. So we got Kristen, excellent. And Colleen, thank you so much. And I need one more person. So also let me tell you what you're doing. So what I'd like these 3 people to do is what I would like you to do is start doing the affinity, which is, okay, wonderful. Cassandra, thank you so much. So Cassandra, Kendra, and Kristen, or excuse me, Colleen and Kendra, they're all C word, they're all C sounds. If you go to start grouping stickies that are similar and physically putting them in groupings together. So ones that are similar, and you all as a triple can define what that's like. So if you could, all 3 of you come off mute, please. And I'd like you to start grouping them, but if you need to, talk to each other and say like, hey, you know, why'd you put that one there? But go ahead and try to group these together.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna have you all do that for a couple minutes, and I'd like another 3 to get ready because we're going to hand this off to another group of 3 to also do some grouping just to give people practice. But I'd like you guys to take a stab at it for the first few minutes.
There's a lot of hybrid. Mm-hmm.
Just getting rid of a lot of the blank notes.
Thank you.
Perfect. You know, that happens in the real world too, is you have occasional stickies that get put up there and there's no, somebody just stuck it and then didn't come back to it. So no biggie.
Like a lot of childcare. Family and childcare.
I don't know how they're gonna adhere to childcare with like everything continually changing. They have to adapt it to the workplace as well.
Good, good. All right.
And I don't know where this one would go.
Empathy towards tardiness would probably go for the people making the policies.
Okay.
Oh, puppy.
Sorry, that's my, yeah.
No, he's so cute.
He wants up with me.
Okay, my cats are like freaking out, sniffing the computer.
I'm sorry.
I know, I
Okay.
heard a dog.
We want to be everyone's friend.
So it looks like a lot of them wants to say like hybrid, a lot about childcare, and then safety and policies.
Thinking sort of in this top left, these are like
Yeah.
options, and then kind of towards the bottom right, things that need to get done, and kind of the top right.
I know you mentioned 3 groups. Can we have like 4?
No, yeah, you can put these in as many groupings as you want.
Okay, got it.
I'm sorry, if I made it sound like I wanted 3 groups. I wanted 3 volunteers. You just make as many groupings as you need.
Got it. Okay. I think, are these blank?
I think so.
I deleted them. Long-term stay-at-home strategies. Yeah, how long goes there?
I mean, this one is like both.
Yeah, this one seems more like over here.
Okay, so keep doing what you're doing, but what I would like is I'd like 3 more volunteers, people who like naming stuff. So if you're good at giving things names, I would be obliged if you raised your hand, please.
Ladies, it's been a pleasure organizing with you.
Well, you're not out of the woods yet. So, so I'd like at least 2 or 3 other volunteers to take these groupings and give them a label. Don't make me start picking people randomly. All right. Well, all right. Cassidy Chang, are you around?
I am around, yeah.
All right. So Tim Munson, are you around? All right. And let's see, I'm just going across my row here. And Wen Ing, are you around? All right. Janet?
I'm here. Tim.
Oh,
Tim.
Tim.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. All right. So Cassidy, Tim, Wan Ing or Wen Ing, I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. Are you around? Sugar Pasos, are you in the room?
Yeah.
All right, Cassidy, Tim, and Sugar, thanks for volunteering. If the 3 of you could get a sticky note color that you like, so perhaps one that hasn't been used yet, like orange. And if you 3 could come up with labels for each of these, looks like we have 3 or 4 groupings here. And please feel free, if you have a question, ask the first group. If you're not sure of like a grouping, ask them what they think, but go ahead and please give these groupings names. I see 3 or 4 here. Please give them names. Okay, So it looks like we have one label called hybrid. We have another label called childcare arrangements. Great. Okay. And looks like the bottom section needs a okay. And if anybody else wants to ask questions or even jump in and do a label, please feel free. Want folks to get practice with this. Okay. So it looks like we have labels. Looks like we have shared teleworking in office as a label. So I'm just going to make the labels bold just to make them a little easier to see. But you should get the idea. It looks like we have childcare arrangements. Excellent. And we have communication about working from home. Okay, wonderful. So now what I would like everyone to do is there is I'm gonna share a screen just for a second, just so you can see what I'm doing here. If you open up the side menu in Mural, there's this little star and it says icon. And in the icon, there's all sorts of little widgets here. So what I would like everyone to do is grab this little check mark. This little check mark, if you click on it, is made it really small. This little check mark is like your dot vote. So what I would like everyone to do is grab one check mark and put it on the sticky that you think is like the winner idea. Now, if you don't want a particular sticky, you can put it on a grouping. You can put it on childcare arrangements, for example, if you think the whole group is like the winner idea. Or if there's a particular one like stagger personal schedules for traffic delays, stick it on there. So everybody gets one vote. And if you need to make your check mark bigger, go ahead. But put your check mark on the sticky that you're like, yep, that's my fave. I'm going to stop share so we can go back to welcome back, Kate. Do you need a link to the board?
Graham got me set up. Thanks.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, excellent. Okay, how are folks doing on voting? Does anybody need a few more moments to vote? It looks like we have a bunch of check marks still floating around, but now normally, and I'll show you my toolkit when at the end. When I'm doing this in a physical space, I have a box. People always jokingly call it my arts and crafts box, but I have a box with certain items in it. I have 2 boxes of Sharpies, medium point, black, sometimes dark, sometimes blue. But I usually have anywhere between 40 to 60 Sharpies. I have multiple packs of multicolored 5x3 sticky notes. And I have stickers with just little colorful dots. And those are dot votes. And so we stick those all over. Now, there is another methodology that's similar to this called the Google Sprint, where they give certain stakeholders, like the vice president of whatever, a special dot that's like a heavier dot. I personally like all dots to be equal because I think it's good for people to see the wisdom of the crowd. So in this example, who can tell me which sticky looks like it has got the most momentum behind it?
It seems like, this is Cassandra, it seems like the allow permanent teleworking if desired.
Yeah, I'd say that one is got some good momentum. It looks like Stagger Personnel has some good momentum too. Prioritize maintaining. Hybrid as a general looks like it has a couple, right? So Cassandra, since you spoke up, and I really appreciate you, what are, in your observation, what are some of the benefits of this approach of having the dot voting?
For me personally, I mean, normally traffic, right? So for me, I would have to wake up like an hour or two before my actual shift would start, just to beat traffic, just to get there and have enough time to, I guess, not feel rushed. So it's nice waking up and then being able to work. I feel like I'm a little more productive in that sense.
Cool.
Productivity.
So then to sort of paraphrase what you're saying, you can see yourself in a few of these stickies, and you can see the benefit to you personally and to your organization in the different suggestions that are on here.
Yes.
Is that true? Yeah. Cool. Okay. Great. Anyone else? So another topical question I'll throw out is, this approach is built to make it apparent which ideas are most popular with the group. It's, the wisdom of the crowd, crowdsourcing, all of that. Would anybody like to share how this approach could be helpful in their organization?
I think no one is really put on the spot for their answer. They can just put a check mark wherever they'd like, and no one's really attached to that. So you can just see the overall voting.
Yeah, I love that. It allows a little bit of, safety. It's like, you don't know whose check mark is which. Kristen.
So I actually have a project going on that is dealing with the construction of a large warehouse for multiple different agencies. And I'm learning that since the original project manager retired, nobody really surveyed any of the agencies moving forward. So basically, this is kind of illustrating what I'm actually hoping to do with all my different vendors, and then again with the agencies, to really show everyone that they're all thinking of the same items. They just need to be empathetic listeners and, realize it from another point of view.
Absolutely. Yes, this is, I was hoping that something like this would be really applicable. So yeah, this is wonderful. Yeah, that's a great example of this. Laura, you have your hand raised?
It actually shows where people's concerns are and where they're looking at compared to what the preconception of where you want them to be.
Yes, absolutely. I love this approach because there's a lot of times where me as, me have a preconceived notion of, I think this is what people are going to like. And I've walked into rooms where you have a senior leader who's like, this is the plan and this is what I want. And being able to see if the wisdom of the crowd agrees or disagrees. I've been in meetings where I've seen, a deputy director who was, all the energy behind $1 million plan going like, wait a minute, no one thinks that this is going to work. And then honesty happened and they made a pivot to a much more practical and cheaper solution. So yeah, I've seen this have that effect. So yeah, thank you for sharing, Laura. Absolutely, like getting, especially for people who might be a little more quiet or not sure how an idea is going to be seen by the collective, putting it out there and seeing in kind of that, like Sugar was saying, in that way that takes a little bit of the personal, like, are people going to think about this idea, and being able to see how people feel about it is super helpful. Thank you, Graham. We'll follow up later. Appreciate it. So yeah, and who was it earlier from New Jersey was talking about the, was it Kristen? who's talking about the,
Warehouse? What?
sorry?
The warehouse example?
Yeah, yes, yeah. So this is a great example. It's a way to see, alignment in a really non-confrontational way, or misalignment. Like, hey, how do people feel about this? Is this what we want to do as a group?
Yeah, because
And
like I have some agencies, I'm sorry, I have some agencies that like want certain electrical requirements. We have Department of Health, we have this person, and they're not communicating it with this person. This vendor came in 2 weeks early, that vendor's 2 weeks late. Like, okay, guys, no.
yeah, exactly. And so, like I said, this is a building block, and I use this all the time. It's a really powerful tool. And depending on how much time you have, you can time box it for longer or shorter periods of time. Generally speaking, I give people about 5 minutes to do the first brainstorming. And then after doing grouping, I'll let people have a few more minutes, especially if it's started to pull on some really great threads to add more. But the open invitation that you prompt your groups with is when you're looking at these stickies, if a new idea comes up, write it down, slap it up there, because it's very rarely the first set of ideas has the ultimate answer. It's usually 3 or 4 generations of thinking down the line where the winning idea pops up. So allowing folks to continue adding, or prompting them to continue adding ideas, is a great way to get those juices flowing. And like, ooh, that made me think of another idea, which made me think of another idea. So yeah, I think giving an opportunity, and Kristen, especially if you have a lot of vendors and they're from different areas and they're looking at it from different perspectives, getting them in the room, especially their knowledgeable people, like their project managers, or even like their, GCs, or whoever their like knowledgeable people are from the different perspectives, getting them all in a room and saying like, hey, I want your ideas up there. Then they don't have to also compete to prove to you who's the smartest person in the room, right? It's everybody's ideas are up there. I don't even know where my idea is anymore, kind of thing. So cool. So so this is the basic process. You do the brainstorming, get ideas, group them together, label the idea, do the dot voting. Now, sometimes as a designer, it's really useful to do what we like to call reframing. And the idea of reframing is looking at an old problem through a new lens. I've also heard it called, what's the term? I'm jumping ahead a little bit. It's also called vujade, which is the opposite of deja vu, in the sense you take something you look at all the time and you try to look at it with fresh eyes. So there's a couple of exercises. I'm going to put you in your groups and you're going to do a couple of these exercises. But before we do that, I want to do one exercise with the whole group for you to see it. So I would like a brave volunteer. Now give me, yeah, I'll take one brave volunteer. Preferably somebody who we haven't heard talk yet, to come in and do a quick exercise with me. It'll be fun, I promise. I need a volunteer. If not, I'm going to pick somebody. Going once, going twice. All right, Brenda, your name just popped up in my screen here. Are you available? Yeah, maybe not. All right. Melissa, are you available?
I am.
Okay, yeah. Okay, sorry about that. I was muted.
Oh, you were, okay. Is this Brenda? Sorry, who's just talking?
Yeah. Yeah, this is Brenda.
Oh, okay. Are
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Are you available on the Zoom, or are you only available via phone?
Both. I'm on both.
Oh, okay, great. So
I'm on-
if you can get into the chat, I would like you to drop in 3 names of people you admire. So they could be celebrities, they could be people famous from history, or actors, musicians, whomever. So I'd like you to drop 3 names into the chat. Okay. Okay, we have, oh, lovely. Carol Burnett, Einstein, and Maya Angelou. Okay, I'm dropping in 3 celebrities myself. Okay, so this is what we call celebrity reframing. So what I'd like you to do is look at the board with me. So we have, and so I'm going to screen share here so we can all see the same thing here. So we're doing a couple different reframing exercises. This one is called What Would Celebrity Blank Do? So I'm gonna go, oops, let me get into the, sorry, I'm trying to click on the right thing here, folks who are following along. Okay, so Brenda, we have these 4 groups here. And you have 3 celebrities. So what I'd like you to do, so generally what you do is you put the names in a hat and you pull one out. So I'd like you to pick one of your celebrities. And let's talk about how would your chosen celebrity solve the problem? How would they think about returning to telework? So I'm going to pick Lady Gaga, for example. So just thinking about Lady Gaga, what's important to her? She enjoys art. She enjoys freedom. She enjoys creativity. Would her suggestion be something along the lines of allowing people the return to work and allowing them to express their creativity? So maybe something like, in my space, I am going to put a cardboard cutout of myself, and on that cardboard cutout are the email address or the Zoom link that you can get to when I'm remote. And when I'm there in person, the cardboard cutout goes into the closet or into the, I fold it up. So it's like, I'm there and here's my contact information when I'm actually working from home. So that's how Lady Gaga would maybe solve this problem. So in your celebrities and in your...
Okay, hold up, okay, solve the problem of how to return to work. Is that what she was solving?
Yeah, the question writ large that we're looking at here is, what is the best return to work policy? How do we best return to work?
Okay. All right.
So of your 3 celebrities, which one do you pick and how do you think they would solve it?
Okay, just a minute here. Let me see who my 3 celebrities are. Okay. Let's see. This is kind of hard because it's like I'm trying to think of the person and I'm trying to think of how they would solve it.
Well, the way to do it is think about the celebrity. Like, so for example, whom did you pick?
We can go with Maya. Maya
Okay.
Angelou.
So Maya Angelou. So what do we know about her? She's a poet. She's really, she falls in love with words and she falls in love with like descriptive phrases. Okay. So that's so that's interesting. So somebody who loves words and phrases and turning simple words into deep visual references. If I was in that frame of mind, how would I tell people to, how would that look when I was thinking about returning to work? What would I do?
I see a banner.
Yeah.
I'm coming. I'll be here on such and such a day. Posted in the office.
Okay, so yeah, so like a banner, and maybe that banner is written in prose, so it's like a poem almost.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm not here today, but to communicate with me, here are the ways. And with your email and your phone or anything else. So yeah, cool.
That would work.
Cool. So thanks for doing that with me. I appreciate that. And virtual applause, everyone,
Sure.
for Brenda for being brave. I appreciate that. The idea here,
Thank
though,
you.
is it gets you out of your own frame of reference and gets you out of your own skin. And sometimes being able to do that comes up with a new way of looking at a problem or a new way of looking at a solution that you wouldn't otherwise do. Reframing is actually a super powerful tool, and I encourage you to play around with it. The celebrity reframe is just a fun way to do it. And hey, you know what? Why not have fun as much as you can, right? Cool. All right. So any questions about the KJ analysis? Some people also call it affinity analysis because affinity group things that are similar grouped together. Any questions about the process? Any observations? And so Kristen, yeah, thanks for that great example of how you would use that. Anybody else have an example of how they would use it? Oh, I saw an icon. Sugar, did you have a question or something that wasn't working there for you? I saw an icon that disappeared. Maybe I'm imagining it.
Oh, no, I'm just saying no questions.
Okay, cool. Great. All right. Okay, so we're going to use this technique in the next session, but I do want to show you a quick slide here to set up our next set of exercises. So just to tie it off, the KJ analysis, I use that a lot when I'm in workshops, and I use it a lot when I'm in facilitations, because what the facilitation lets you do is when groups, I always start off facilitations or very early on with these silent brainstorming KJ work, because it helps people start getting their ideas going. It gets conversation going. It's a really powerful tool that you can use to get facilitations going on the right foot. So I tend to start with these. I sent you all a video, I think, about this, about the different types of listeners. One of the things that you really want to do as a facilitator is you want to look for different listening styles, and you want to encourage people to go into empathetic listening. And one of the main things is, especially when you are in person, look at body language, listen to the emotion and context of things. And a way to start getting people to mirror empathetic listening is just summarizing what they said and reflecting back. So you would say things like, just to make sure I understand, what I hear you saying is blah. And I know it's harder, especially in virtual spaces, but that's one of the reasons why I really like people have cameras on, is because you do get those nonverbal cues. I've shown you a couple of quick exercises. We just did the celebrity reframing. We're going to do another one in a moment, but here's two really good books. Game Storming is a good one. There's another one called Rituals for Virtual Meetings. They have really great icebreakers and other exercises that you can try. I mean, there's dozens and dozens. You can just, flip through these and find ones that you like and just play around with them, experiment. Okay, so workshopping. Workshopping, as I said before, uses the same foundational pieces as facilitation. You do KJ analysis, you set ground rules, you get people exchanging ideas, you get them talking. But there's a couple of other things we do in workshops. Excuse me, let me make this full screen, to help bring out some type of output that you'll use later on for prototyping. And that's creating something that you can use to test to see if the idea will work. So after the brainstorming, after the KJ analysis with the dots, what you'll do is you'll get people thinking about how to operationalize that by doing a process we call journey mapping. So journey mapping is a lot of fun. So again, like you do with the facilitation, is you prepare, plan, and open. So you prepare for workshop, sorry, quick backup. Prepare for your workshop the exact same way as your facilitation. Know your audience, have an opening, do some type of brainstorming, KJ analysis type exercise. Okay, so then we get into journey mapping. Come on, slide. Why? Oh no, weird. Hey, you guys saw it. That was weird. Like the slide got really tiny. Okay, never mind. So this is what a journey map looks like. And this is some of my former staff from a couple of years ago. They've graduated and gone back to their home departments doing a journey mapping. And what's great about this is the top row, that is the process. So from left to right, each one of these stickies, actually each one of these groupings represents a step in a process flow from left to right. So what we did is we brainstormed, had everybody write down what they think the process is. And then we had them group all of the steps. And so you look for similars, like a lot of people go like, oh, you know, I have that exact same step. And then when you give them a label, such as the label on the top, those become really good placeholders for, yep, these are the standard steps that everyone takes. Now, where it gets interesting, you can sort of see it here. When you have steps that only have a few stickies, that can mean that you're, that can mean that there is a step that not everyone does. So it either means it's something that happens that people aren't aware of, and that's important because you need to know if it's happening, or it's a step that's not done all the time. Then it's important to think about it. When is it done? When is it not done? How is this a one-off, or is it something that needs to be done and we're not doing it? So I get really excited when I see journey maps where there's areas with only one or two stickies, because it means we uncovered something that people didn't previously know about. And that's where you start having those conversations where someone goes, like I was saying before with that group, I didn't know that when I did this, or if I skipped this, it caused you to do all this work. Sometimes those stickies are fixes for something that wasn't done previously. So it's important to know that. So that first row are your process steps. What happens from the beginning to the middle to the end? And then underneath that, your second row are, well, in this case, they have it as a further row down, pain points. So for each step in the process, what you're going to do is you're going to do another KJ analysis. You're going to do another brainstorming where you're going to say, like, what are the things that go bad or can go bad at each of these steps? And you do it again. You spend a few minutes silently writing down each of those steps, and then you group them together, give the grouping a label, and then you do a third row, which is opportunities. So for each of these pain points, what's our opportunity to fix that pain point? You do another KJ, you brainstorm a bunch of great ideas, you group them together, and then this is where it gets interesting. You dot vote on your pain points and you dot vote on your opportunities to look for which pain points people think are the most important to solve and which opportunities might be best at solving those problems. So that's why I say that technique of KJ analysis and dot voting, you do it over and over again. In the journey map process, we do it 3 times in a row. And it's one of those things where it's like you keep doing the same thing over and over again, but in this time, instead of being the definition of insanity, it's actually the definition of refining your problem. So cool. So journey mapping, we're going to do this as our next set of exercises. We're going to take the problem statement that each of your groups thought of, and we're going to do a KJ where we're going to just think about the flow from left to right. Then we're going to group them together and label them. Then we're going to take a break. We're going to regroup, and then we're going to do another KJ, but talking about pain points. We're going to dot vote that one. And then we're going to do a third time where we're going to do an opportunities. We're going to do a KJ, and then we're going to vote on the opportunities. So the key to remember is that whenever you're doing the brainstorming, when you're just writing down ideas, always do that silently. When there's no discussion, people actually come up with better ideas and more voluminous ideas than when if you talk and litigate every single idea you're writing down. So do that silently. There'll be plenty of opportunity to discuss when you're grouping and when you're talking about the voting. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the rooms again, but going to make sure that each group has your journey map in place. So if you go back to, I know some people couldn't get into the, if you have the mural open that has the world map on it, if you go all the way to the right in the third column where it says class exercise links, there's journey maps for yellow, orange, pink, and blue. If you click on the little button, oh, you can't see what I'm doing. If you click on the little button that is inside of that link, that little, like here where I'm hovering over yellow, this will open up the yellow, and I'll put each link into the chat here. Sorry. But what I would like each group to do is I'm going to send you into your breakout rooms, and your assignment is just this. As a group, talk about your question again. What's the problem you're solving? And I'd like you to do in your area, you have a brainstorming area up here. Start dropping in all of your stickies for the process from left to right. So this is the first step. This is the second step. This is the third step. Everybody does that independently. And then after the 5 minutes, I'll give you a prompt, and I'd like you then as a group to take all of your stickies and group them together in this first row. What stickies do we have that are the grouping for the first step, grouping for the second step, third step, and so on? So I want you to put them all into that first row. So again, I'm going to send you into your rooms, silently, 5 minutes, brainstorm the steps from start to finish, and then group them and place them onto that first row, and then label the groupings. Does that make sense? Everybody good? So we're just doing the first row, process, left to right. No pain points, nothing else, just what you think the process is for your solving your problem or addressing your problem. Cool? Okay, I'm going to open up the rooms, and when I do, I'm going to then go into each of your rooms, and I'm going to drop in your link just to make sure everybody in your group can get into your journey map board. Okay. Okie dokie. All right. And I will see you all in a moment. I'm going to go visit the pink room first. Okay, I know there's a couple folks who are getting tea, so I'm going to pause the recording for a moment and jump in. Okay, folks should be rejoining in a moment. The Zoom yank is going to pull everybody back, whether they want to or not. All right. Welcome back, everyone. I apologize for the Zoom yank that snaps you back so quickly from one spot to another, but great. Okay, so I'm going to send everybody back to their rooms, but now what I would like you to do is to work on the pain points row. So if you need a few minutes to finish doing your first row, the actions row, and labeling them, go ahead and take a few seconds to do that. But what I would like you to do is start for each step of the process right below it. Start brainstorming and writing sticky notes for what's the pain point, what can go wrong, what causes headaches for people at each of these steps. So same process, write down sticky notes for one thought per sticky note for pain points, group them together, and then label those pain points. Okay, we're going to spend 5 minutes doing pain points. So again, I'm not expecting these to be perfect. I just want you to get a bit of practice. 5 minutes doing pain points. I'm going to bring you back. We're going to do this again for opportunities, and then we're going to move to the last phases that you would do in a workshop. Okay, so I'm going to put you back in the rooms. Poor Team Yellow. I visited Team Blue twice and I skipped Team Yellow so I could talk to them at the last second.
It is kind of funny to have you, duck in and out.
Yeah, normally, when I have help like with Kendra or someone else, them
It's
sort of
good.
split up the rooms.
It's good.
Yeah. Cool. I have a couple more slides I want to share. Okay, perfect. Oh, I love this exercise. This is super fun. Okay. Welcome back. So I'd like to show you all one more exercise before we go into opportunities. When you're going into opportunities, it's sort of the last step before you get into prototyping. And prototyping actually uses a different part of your brain and a slightly different set of skills. Right now, you've been looking at the journey map, which is the flow from left to right, start to finish of a process. You also have pain points now. I've seen all 4 boards look great. You have items for pain points. Pain points are, what are the headaches? So now we're going to start looking at opportunities. Opportunities are things that you can do to fix those pain points. And in order to do that, I always encourage everyone to do a couple of exercises that get the creative juices flowing. So I'm going to share my screen for a second. While I'm sharing screen, I'm going to need 4 volunteers. So I need 4 brave people to help me with this next one. And I'd love it to have volunteers. Don't make me pick you. What I like to do are 2 sets of exercises. One is called yes, but, and the other is called yes, and. And if you've done these before, they're really fun. So the idea with this is to get an idea of how words can change our mindset. So what I would like us to do is plan an office party for when everybody comes back into the office. But every time someone throws out an idea, you must start your reply with yes, but give a reason why the idea won't work, and then throw another idea out there. So I would like 2 volunteers here to do the yes, but exercise. So we're planning an office party, throw out an idea. Someone absolutely has to say yes, but why the idea won't work, and then throw out another idea. And that's the back and forth between the 2. So we're just going to do this for a minute. I need 2 volunteers. Oh, it's all Kristen and Ryan. All right. I think we have our two volunteers. We have Kristen and where's Ryan there? All right. Ryan, you ready? Oh no, Ryan, if you're talking, you're muted. Oh, he's responding to a call. All right, we need to back up. All right, Sugar, are you willing to play?
Sugar should come on.
All right, we need someone else. Sugar, you ready to go?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great. So we're just going to do this for a minute. Office party. Every response has to be yes, but why it won't work, and then throw out another idea. So Kristen, go ahead and go first. Rapid fire.
I think we're gonna throw the office party in the lunchroom.
Yes, but there's no social distancing.
Throw out another idea. Sugar, you throw out an idea.
Oh, let's have it in the warehouse.
Yes, but the warehouse is dirty.
Kristen, new idea.
Yes, but the warehouse is dirty. Let's throw it outside.
I don't think the weather is going to permit, so let's have it virtually.
Yes, but if we have it virtually, not everybody may show up. Let's have it at Applebee's.
Yes, but they don't have the best drinks. Let's have it at your house.
I have no qualms with that.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Appreciate that. Round of applause for our brave volunteers. So who would want to go to that party? Yeah, not when yes, but comes in, it makes it kind of hard to, come up with that next cool idea. So I want to play this again, but let's design the best home appliance ever. And each reply has to be yes and build on whatever idea with another crazy idea. And it is, so rapid fire. So suggestion, yes, and throw out another crazy idea. And then the other person responds yes, and another crazy idea. So do I have two new brave volunteers, or are we going to pick on Kristen and Sugar again?
For the sake of time, I'm still down to play.
Okay. All right, Sugar. Let's do another round, please.
You got it.
All right. So best home appliance ever, always yes, and. So say yes, and then another crazy idea. So Kristen, go ahead and kick us off, please.
Okay, so new home appliance, yes, and it's going to automatically fold my clothes.
And I'm gonna agree. I'm agreeing.
Yeah, yes, and then throw out another idea that it could do.
Oh, okay. Yes, and it also loads itself.
Ooh, yes, and while it's drying the clothes, it's going to bake a loaf of bread.
Yes, and it'll alert my family when dinner will be ready.
Yes, and it alerts me when there's any new guests arriving.
Yes, and it also mixes drinks.
Yes, and there's a sugar-free option.
Yes, but there would be no fun without sugar.
Okay, that's a good one.
Oh my God, you're so sweet.
Cool. All right. Cool.
Sandra, we're funny.
So yeah, that's why thank you again. Appreciate that. That's wonderful. That was some great suggestions. Who would want to buy that appliance? I know I wouldn't. Just for the loaf of bread. Use the heat from the dryer to bake bread. That makes a ton of sense. So I always encourage people to do one round of yes and before going into the opportunities and before we go into the prototype, which I'm going to explain in a moment. But it gets you in that better mindset. You're riffing off each other. You're throwing out great ideas. That's the proper mindset when you're thinking about fixing problems. So that's one example. There's a few that, you can look up in either of those books, but Yes and is a favorite. I always encourage people to play that. So I'm going to send you back into your rooms, and I would like you to look at your problems. So let's do this. I'll send you back into the rooms. I want everybody to take a single check mark and vote for the problem, the pain point that you want to talk about. So once you have got voting of the pain point you want to solve, then I'd like people to throw out opportunities to fix that pain point. Okay, does that make sense? So go in as a team, vote for the pain point you want to talk about. And then once you pick that pain point, take 5 minutes to do some opportunity brainstorming around that opportunity to fix that problem. Does that make sense? Pick a pain point, brainstorm opportunities to fix the pain point.
Do we brainstorm as a group or do we brainstorm individually with the Post-its?
Oh, yes, thank you. So yeah, to clarify, when you brainstorm, do the same thing. Silently write down ideas for a couple minutes. And then when you group the ideas, then you can start talking about those different ideas and then figuring out which one you like best. But take literally just a single vote on the pain point you want to talk about. If it's completely, everyone has the exact same number of votes, draw straws, just pick a solution, because I'd like you to spend the next 5 minutes till 1:45 basically voting and then coming up with a couple of ideas for opportunities to brainstorm. So try and divide your time up so you have at least 3 minutes of silent brainstorming before you pick an opportunity. Okay, I know it's a little fast, but I want to make sure we end on time. All right, see you in a few minutes. Okay, welcome back. All right, I know you probably weren't done coming up with all sorts of great ideas. So when you're doing this in real life, I encourage you to make your intervals like 15 minutes instead of 5 minutes. It gives you a little more time, but don't give people huge amounts of time because you can get kind of stuck. So what we're going to do is we're going to move to the next step of this. So you have the process, you have your pain points, and now you've identified a couple opportunities which might be really good to fix those pain points, right? Most everybody at that point. All right. So the last phase in workshops is called prototyping. And in this phase, what you're going to do, or you're going to come up with ideas that can solve these problems. So what I encourage you to do in physical spaces is have people at tables in small groups, and in virtual spaces, you have your breakout rooms. But this is what I tell people to do. Your prototypes are how you try to make your idea tangible, so you can put it in front of somebody to say like, hey, if I had this solution and it kind of worked like this, would it help solve your problem? So we're going to use, like I was saying before, basic shapes, lines, triangles, rectangles, squares, circles. With those general shapes, you can make the symbolic, person riding a horse, right? Cool. So the process I love to use is what called crazy eights and one-ups. So we're not going to go to breakout rooms for this, but normally you would. But in the interest of time, what I'd like everybody to do is grab a nice, you have it, clean piece of paper and a pencil. And the idea is I'm going to give you a couple of minutes, 5 minutes, and I'd like you to sketch out 8 different ideas or 8 different approaches to solving the problem on that opportunity. So if the opportunity you picked is, creating a form or creating a survey or creating a website, you can sketch out what are 8 different pages or what are 8 different things you want on that website. So you generally grab a piece of paper, and you start breaking it into squares and start sketching out ideas. So again, in the interest of time, I'm going to have everybody grab a piece of paper or even grab a Post-it note, just something you have with you, and sketch out a bunch of different ideas, 8 different ideas. And I'm going to give everybody, let's do 4 minutes, starting now. Here, play some thinking music here while we're.
This is supposed to be 8 ideas to 1 opportunity.
Sorry, what was that again? My volume was so low.
This is supposed to be 8 different ideas for 1 opportunity.
Yes, 8 different ideas. Now, if you run out and there's another opportunity you want to sketch about, fine. But yeah, you want 8 different ideas just to get your brain going. How are folks doing? You're running out of ideas? Do you need more time, or are you finishing, you wrapping up? Ooh, yikes. A big windstorm going on here. A bunch of stuff just blew off.
I thought that was still the music.
What?
I thought that was still the music.
Oh, no, I would. All right. So that is 4 minutes. So if you're not done with your ideas, no problem. Generally what you do is you spend 5 minutes or so doing the crazy eights. Then you go and in your small group, you share your crazy ideas. You hold up your sheet and you say, here are my ideas. And you share them with the group and you get feedback. And then you do what we call a one-up. So the one-up is where you take your favorite idea or the best idea and you sketch it out in more detail. So now you've taken your crazy eights, which are 8 different ideas, you've shared them with people, you've gotten some feedback, and now you come up with your favorite idea and you sketch it out again. So in this case, what I'd like you to do is everyone take your favorite idea out of your 8, and we're just going to take 1 minute just to roughly sketch out your favorite idea, just so you can get an idea of what that's like. So we'll go ahead and do 1 minute starting now. So usually you get a little more feedback, but pretend you got feedback and you have a favorite idea. And you're going to sketch out that favorite idea. Okay, great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you back in your rooms for one last time, just for a couple minutes. But what I'd like you to do in your rooms is to take a few minutes to share your one-up, share your favorite idea, because what you would do in a normal workshop is that group would combine those and you'd come up with a one-up that represents your room or your table. So it's the consolidation of those ideas into some workable single idea. So for this purpose, just in a matter of time, I'm going to send you back to your rooms for a couple minutes. Just share some ideas from your one-ups. We've lost some folks, so some of these conversations might be, really small rooms. But yeah, share the ideas you came up with your one-ups, and then we'll come back and we'll wrap up the class, okay? All right. So share your one-ups. I will see you all in a moment.
Came up the best.
Okay. Well, welcome back, everybody. So just to tie off the last concepts here. So what you did is a really quick version of the one-ups, which will take you into the final steps of prototyping. The idea is when you take your individual one-ups and you come up with a one-up for the table or for the team, you now have something tangible that you can then stick in front of somebody and test out. We tend to make ours on these big, giant size Post-it notes, the 2 foot by 3 foot ones. And then you can walk up to somebody and say, hey, if I had a thing that worked like this, what would you think? If the post office layout was this, these are literally Legos taped to paper, would you like that? And people go, oh, I'd like the room over here. It just gives people something to react to. So as you close up, what I encourage people to do is now at the end of this, what you're doing is you're assigning people who's going to take this prototype, make it prettier, flesh it out a little more, and then go put it in front of users and say, hey, would this solve your problem? And then you then schedule the next meeting where you get those prototype results, and you come back and you brainstorm again on those prototypes to amplify the things that work and close down the things that don't. And then, like I said before, as you leave the meeting, have people write stickies and put plus, minus, plus, delta, just to get it feedback on what went well and what didn't go well. So I'm going to stop sharing here. Oh. All right. So that brings us to the end of the process. So just as a quick summation, we talked about facilitation. We talked about the process of setting ground rules, giving people the equal space to talk. We talked about using KJ analysis to get people putting ideas out there, silently brainstorming, and then grouping them together, labeling your grouping. And then prototyping is the same thing, except you add that journey map structure, the process from start to finish, the pain points, the opportunities, using KJ analysis in each of those rows to get great ideas and group them together. And then you prototype the best ideas to see which ones you can test and put in front of someone to see if they solve the problem. Those steps create a really powerful combination for identifying problems and then figuring out what solves them. So we went 1 minute over. I really appreciate all of your time. I am going to send some follow-up materials and also some follow-up opportunities for you all to continue communication, because this is something that works really well when you get time to practice. I am more than happy to stay on for an additional period of time. I'm good until 3 o'clock my time, so another hour if people want to chat that long. Happy to answer any questions. Also be bugging you via email. Really hope that you found some techniques. I hope you're thinking of the one thing you'll trip on the way out the door. And I'm hoping it's trying a KJ analysis or something when you get back to the office. But happy to stay on, and thank you again. Appreciate your time. Cool. Cool, thanks. A few folks have to run. Cool.
I have a question.
Thank you. This is a good session.
Oh, great. Thanks. I absolutely enjoyed having you. I'm sorry for the technical things. We'll try and get those fixed next time. And
no worries.
Thanks again. I think there's somebody who had a question. I think L.
Yeah. Hi, this is Lauren. I was just wondering, is there a book that you recommend that covers this also?
There's not a single book that I recommend. For the KJ analysis, I really recommend the Jared Spool article. The Game Storming is another really good book to come up with like little icebreakers and exercises for people to go through the process. I'll send you the deck, and that will give you reminders of all of the steps and in the order. But I was talking to someone a few minutes ago, like, I want this to be a super simple structure for you to remember. Just, you don't have to execute every step, but if you do a KJ analysis at the beginning of your meetings, you're going to get people sharing ideas better.
Okay, great. Before the game storming, what was the other article that you mentioned?
There's I'll put it in the chat. There is it's a KJ analysis article by Jared Spool. And I think his website is the Center. It's oh no, here's a better one. This is the gentleman I learned it from. He a guy named Jared Spool. The other book is Game Storming, and then there's another one called Rituals for Virtual Meetings. It's kind of a weird name, but that comes up with a lot of brain stretching exercises that you can do if you're running a meeting virtually. Some of these exercises work really well in person, and the virtual equivalents are harder to figure out. So the Rituals for Virtual Meeting book is specifically exercises you can do when you're stuck in these little Zoom windows that do some of the same exercises.
Thank you. That's great.
Yeah. Hope they're helpful. And then there's a lot of other ones out there. So, if you come across one that you really dig, let me know. I'm always, thrilled to add to the library.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if she stayed on, but the lady from New Jersey, I'm hoping she's able to use these for her warehouse meeting. I can pause. Any other questions?